Alrighty, kia ora everybody. Is that all working for everybody? Somebody want to give me a thumbs up and if they can see my screen, that would be ideal. Thank you, Jamie. Because I'm sharing my screen for some reason, I can't see the chat box. So if you do have a question, please just yell at me or yell at Jamie or put something in the chat box. I'm sure Jamie will just interrupt me and tell me that somebody has a question. So, hey, yeah, thank you very much. Jamie has said thank you already, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us this evening. I find it a privilege to be able to talk to people like you who are passionate about getting out into their communities and making a difference through their sports clubs and organisations. So as somebody that's been a part of sport and recreation a lot in my life, I know how much energy and drive goes into things that you guys do, and you guys make a massive difference in your community. So as I say, I view this as a privilege, and I hope I've got 20 or so minutes to maybe share a few thoughts that I have about marketing. The good news for tonight is, in case I'm absolutely rubbish, I'm sure Pat can clear up some stuff afterwards. So you get a 2-for-1 deal with Pat jumping in after myself as well. So thank you very much. As I say, I'm hopefully going to be able to go on to my next slide. Yeah, there we go. My name's Tom Mann. I'm lucky enough to be working with CLM's parent company as a GM of marketing and business development. In my core role, we work alongside our 33 CLM managed facilities from Whangarei to Nelson, basically managing their marketing on behalf of those facilities. So the really simple way to think about it is running swim school lessons, fitness centres, casual admissions, after school cares and holiday programs would be our core business. I suppose why I have a little bit of relevance and hopefully can pass a few things on to people in the club space is I'm very passionate about using cost-effective marketing, because our big leisure centres don't have these multi-million-dollar budgets to be able to spend money willy-nilly wherever we want. We want to be as effective as possible with our money spend. So we do like to use as many different cost-effective strategies as possible and being able to measure them so that we know what we're getting from our marketing spend. That's always the number one question that I like to ask is hey, how can we measure the effectiveness of our marketing? And then lastly, as I touch base on, I am pretty passionate about the county's Manukau region. I've been working in the area for the last 10 years and for some reason every year get dragged back to playing rugby for Maramarua of all places. For a boy that lives out in Titarangi, it doesn't make much sense, but it says something for the type of people that make up, especially the rugby clubs in the region that I make the hour drive down on Saturdays and maybe when I feel like it on Thursdays for dinner as well. So I do know a little bit about the region, and I'm also passionate about being involved in the region. So I suppose I wanted to share my thoughts on marketing, and I suppose whenever people want to start talking about marketing, they want to start talking about the sexiness of it, the cool social media side of things, the brand. And people have this perception of probably these marketing agencies on inner city fringes with cool brick walls and a dog walking around and deers at 3 o'clock most days and table tennis tables and stuff like that. That's the sexy side of marketing. The reality for me is marketing is actually a lot more about detail and a lot more about planning. If you're not planning effectively, you're never going to be successful in your marketing space. So I always like to start any presentation or any chat about marketing about actually putting together a really good plan. And when I say a plan, that can be all encompassing. You could put together your whole annual plan of how you want to market, or you could break it down even to weekly. So if you were going to be doing a lot of social media stuff, you want to be planning your social media stuff, because that's the other thing with marketing is, again, it's the nice to have, but sometimes you can be operational and not have it. And it's something that I realize very often in our facility space is we're not very good at telling the story of what we're doing. We can be very good in an operational space, but not so good at telling all the amazing stuff that we're doing, all amazing opportunities that we have available. And if you don't have a plan, you're not going to be going out there to do that. So there's plenty of plans, templates out on websites. I know Shannon, through our community sport team, has developed a marketing plan template as well. It's worth grabbing one. It's also worth grabbing one that's not overly scary. There's a lot of plans out there and a lot of big documents out there that are 48 pages long and you lose interest before you've even got to page 2 or 3. A simple wall planner with what you're going to do on it is potentially effective enough for what you're wanting to do in your marketing for your club or your sports organization. So where to start? Always make a plan first. The next question is why you're marketing and why should you be marketing? And I suppose where I have some similarities to you guys is you're wanting to get more. And to be honest, it's a lot easier having this presentation out in people when I can just yell at people and ask, why are you marketing? But the reality is you're marketing your clubs or your sports organization potentially for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, is to get more people to come to your club and to play for your club. And two might be the exposure of your club out in the community. So really thinking about why you're actually putting together a marketing plan is actually one of the first things that you want to be doing when you're putting together your marketing plan. It's having a really good think about what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. That moves on to what. What are you trying to achieve with your marketing? What is your budget? So your budget, this is another area of marketing that often gets probably left over to the wayside, in the sense that, again, it might sometimes be a nice to have with regards to your sports organization, and other members of your committees or other members of your clubs might not see the value in putting $5,000 or $2,000 or $1,000, whatever it might be, towards a marketing budget. But it is really, really important to be able to allocate some funds, allocate some money to be able to put into your marketing, because without a budget, it does make things a little bit harder, and there's only so much free stuff that you can do to promote your club. So like the why, the previous slide, why should you be marketing? The flip side of that is what are you trying, not the flip side, but the continuation of that is what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve, I want to get 30x, I want to grow club registrations by 10% this year, and I want to be targeting a 5% increase in revenue through our bar or our cafe. So have a really good think about what you're trying to achieve with your marketing. And I suppose this goes to the next question is who are you trying to target? So if you are a junior club committee or you're a senior club committee, you really want to dial down as to who you are trying to target as part of your marketing. So are you trying to, if you're part of a junior committee and your goal is to try and get more 5 to 10-year-olds playing your sport, that's who you're trying to target. Where are those people coming from? They're probably coming from within 5-10 kilometers of your club. They're probably coming from the primary schools that are around your region. Straight away, you're putting together a bit of an idea of who you're trying to target. On the flip side, if you're trying to introduce a females team to your club, you need to start thinking about who those females are that you're trying to target and where you might find them, what they might look like. And when I say what they might look like, is try and break down their demographics. Have a little think about who could be interested in joining your club. And the same might be if you're trying to bring together a team or an of senior participants to your club. Have a really good think down and create a persona around those different populations in your group. And then the other key thing is who is going to do it from your club. And I suppose when you've got your little committees put together, have a really good think together about who can actually run your marketing for your club and give it an actual role within your committee. So somebody is responsible for putting together the marketing plan and for executing the marketing plan throughout the year. There might not have to be the same person. There might be somebody that puts the plan together, but you might have 2 or 3 people that are really interested in the social media side of things so give them access to your social media and let them run your social media. You might have somebody that's really savvy on websites, give them access to your website and put them in control of that. You might have somebody that's really good at taking photos. Give that person control in that space. You might have someone that's really, really good at sending EDMs, which is emails to your databases. Give them access to that and put them in charge of that. You might be very, very lucky and might get one genius that can do all of that, then absolutely give it all to that person. But I would stress that there's a lot of responsibilities, and marketers seem to given a lot of hats to wear, and there's a lot of different components of it. So if you do have people to be able to lean on, do so, especially the youngsters that are good on their social media. and might feel that they're getting more engaged with their club, like being given a responsibility to run the Instagram page, the Facebook page, the TikTok page, which is pretty scary. Yeah. And how? I'll probably talk a little bit about this more in the next few slides, but you've got to have a real good think about how you're going to be spending your money and what mediums you're going to be using to market your club. And this, I suppose, does depend a little bit on what your club budget might be, and also depends on who you've identified as the people that you're wanting to target. If you're trying to target 15 to 18-year-olds, 15 to 20-year-olds, you're probably not going to be using newspaper ads. You're probably going to be talking to your younger club members and figuring out how TikTok works so that you can get on TikTok and talk directly to them. If you've got $5,000, you could put a massive big billboard up on the side of the motorway, or you could use $5,000 and effectively use a few different digital marketing strategies. So think about who you're targeting and think about how you're going to reach them. But as I say, I'll talk a little bit more as we go. And then putting together marketing for a club is a challenge in the sense that, as I mentioned before, you might have budget constraints, you might have capacity constraints, as in people that can do it. Whenever you talk to a marketer, they want to have their brand presence constantly in people's eyes and making sure that you're filling up space throughout the year so that the message doesn't get lost. I can understand that this can, however, be a bit of a challenge in the sense that you might have your season finished and people need a break, and there might be a 3 or 4 month period there where people just want to relax and not have to think about their given sport for a few months. Look, I can understand that. There is the beauty of things like scheduling posts in Facebook, so you could schedule a couple of months worth of content and then not actually really have to check in too hard over those 2 months when you're having a little bit of a break from your sport. I would always believe, though, if you do have a limited budget, you obviously want to be advertising at the key times leading up to your season. So if you're a rugby club going into winter right now, you want to be spending the bulk of your cash now or 2 weeks ago, making sure you're reaching as many people as possible to get them to register at your club. On the flip side, if you're a cricket club, and I see there are a couple of cricket club members joining us, I wouldn't be spending a hell of a lot of money on your marketing plan right now going into winter. But on the flip side, coming into summer, when you know registrations, it's important to start getting registrations, and that's when you want to be marketing hard and marketing to your audiences. So picking when you are going to market and market hard is really, really important. Cool. I've got a few top tips. I've talked about a few of those top tips already. Make a plan and follow it. I'm about to contradict myself completely in this sense because it's important to have an absolute plan, but you also have to be a little bit fluid sometimes when it comes to marketing. If you see an amazing picture that comes up and you want to share it all over your social media and your plan says, no, we're actually sharing this afternoon, we're sharing about the fact that don't forget your rugby boots on the weekend, so we can't share this photo. Be flexible and share the really, really good content at that time. But keep that other bit of content in your calendar and just simply move it to another day. Follow your plan in the sense of if you said you're going to start promoting your club, do it. Don't wait another couple of weeks because then the horse might have already bolted. Marketing is like fishing. One of the sayings that I like to say a lot to my facilities and a lot to those that I talk to about marketing. The diagram a little bit kind of explains what I'm going to say, in the sense that we could drop 10, 15 rods in the water with a whole bunch of different bait on them. However, if you don't have the correct bait on them, you're not going to catch the fish. The only thing is what I would say that, again, a little bit contradicts the picture is you do need to test the waters and you do need to try things. So I would say if you do have the capability and you do have the capacity and you do have the funds, you do want to test the waters with as many different things as possible. But then on one of my future tips, which I'm about to mention, you want to be measuring your marketing. And if you're getting results by a certain way, if you like fishing and you're fishing well with soft bait on your rod and you're catching lots of snapper, keep putting soft bait on your rod because it's working for you. However, if you keep fishing and you keep spending thousands and thousands of dollars on on something else and it's not catching your fish, if you're measuring it effectively, you know that you're not going to get the results that you were asking for. So go back to the soft bait. That's my little analogy. I probably haven't explained it as well over a computer screen, but I hope it makes a little bit of sense. Figure out what works for you, and make sure you're baiting your rod with that bait. Get social. I've mentioned a few social media platforms already. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok would be my 3 suggestions. I'm happy to argue with anybody over those 3. Facebook is still the biggest platform used in New Zealand, followed by Instagram, and then followed by TikTok. Somebody on the chat potentially. Oh, it's an awesome picture. Thank you. Yeah, back to that. Sorry, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are the 3 biggest platforms that I see reach through in New Zealand. Facebook for your key decision makers of children. So for swimming lessons, which is probably the same target if you're targeting some junior club members. So kind of that 30 to 45-year-old female that's making the decision about where their kid's going for swimming lessons or where their kid's going to play in the sport. Facebook is highly effective in that sense. Going a little bit younger if you want to be using your TikTok, and then your Instagram, and then even younger again if you want to be using your TikTok. I need to update the slide because I don't even think I've got a TikTok logo on there. It shows how old I am. I want to talk a little bit about advertising through these platforms, because obviously we can share our own content on them, but they're also highly effective in the sense of generating subscriptions or generating registrations. And I'll use a little example, and all of you will probably know it quite well. When I first probably started working with CLM and we managed the Massey Park Aquatic Centre, I would probably spend close to $20,000 in the local newspaper each year advertising swimming lessons. Now, back to moving forward to a couple of my slides, $20,000 is a lot of money, and the ability to be able to reach and measure how effective that $20,000 was incredibly hard. Over the last 8 years, I've pulled all our money out of local newspapers, and I've pulled all our money out of local radios, and pushed it predominantly into social. At the Massey Park Aquatic Centre, I can now spend a Facebook ad for $100 and generate the facility at least 45 to 60 leads for swimming lessons. That's outrageous amounts of leads generated. So when I say a lead, that means somebody is clicking on that bit of advertising and filling in a form, giving their details, giving the age of their child, and saying, hey, I'm interested in lessons. So for $100, generating 45 to 65 leads, pretty outrageous, really, and pretty effective. Why it is so successful is because we can geo-target it down to within whatever radius we like around Massey Park pools, whether it's 7.5 Ks, 10 Ks, whatever it may be. I can then also pick the demographic of who I'm targeting. As I mentioned earlier, we know that females, mothers, are making decisions around swimming lessons. So we're targeting kind of a 25 to 40-year-old female. We're not targeting a male in that sense because they're not the key decision maker. We know that's where they're still on Facebook and they're using Facebook to scroll. So we're putting our budget towards those people. We've also know that swimming lessons, unfortunately, which is something which I don't agree with, but unfortunately it is the way it is a bit of a want, because you do have to spend money to be able to put your child into those lessons. So we actually even target parents, mothers who are aged 25 to 40-ish that have a little bit more money in their back pocket. Pretty scary stuff that you're able to target that far down, but pretty amazing for a marketer, really. And if you're not doing it, you want to be doing it. If you are managing a club in the area and you've got $100 to put on Facebook, and there's a few, I see the Facebook ads popping up, which is really, really cool. Really important to link it through to a form so that you can get people to register and you can get people to make contact with the club. Even better if you have the ability, and maybe Annette's going to talk about that later, if they have the ability to register and pay on that form, even better, because it's taking out the back and forth process that you might need to do. So yeah, getting social, I can't recommend it enough. both the organic stuff that you're creating throughout your clubs, but also the advertising side of it is highly, highly effective. A little bit scary. Hopefully, I haven't freaked out a few people that big bad Facebook in the world of social media knows everything about you. If you didn't know that already, that is the case, unfortunately, and we all just have to get used to it as we sit on our beds and scroll through our social media every night. Top tip number 4, keep it simple. It's really as simple as it is. Don't get overcomplicated. If you've never really looked into a marketing plan or done any form of marketing, keep it really, really simple. Don't try and overreach and do too much. And I suppose going back to social media, if something I get asked all the time from my facilities is, hey, look, Tom, we really want an Instagram page. Hey, Tom, we really want a TikTok page. Hey, Tom, we really want a Snapchat page. And I keep going back to them and saying, hey, unfortunately, look, your Facebook page hasn't been updated for the last 2 weeks, and you want another social media profile to look after. So walk before you can run. Make sure that you're doing what you've already got really, really well and effectively engaging that before you try and spread yourself across 3 or 4 different platforms. Fortunately, the likes of Facebook and Instagram are owned by the big same Meta universe. So you can cross promote across those 2 platforms. I wouldn't recommend it for absolutely everything, but it is a bit of a quick, cheap, lazy way of getting stuff across both. But as I say, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things, and do what you do really, really well before overstretching yourself. Like before, evaluate with regards to the phishing photo, with regards to the Facebook. One of the massive benefits of social media is you can measure the results. So I gave that example of me spending $100 Facebook advert and receiving 45 to 65 inquiries. That's really, really easy for me to go and chat to our directors and chat to our facility managers and saying, hey, look, we're performing really, really well here. Look at the exact click-through rate. Look at the exact amount of money that you've spent, and look how many leads you've generated. 5 years ago, when I was spending $20,000 in the newspaper, I was basically throwing a ball up against the wall and hoping it would bounce back at me. I had no way of truly measuring how effective those ads were. Unfortunately, the same can be said about a lot of other media. You can, on your registration forms, if you have the ability to, just to put that question in there, is how did you hear about us? The reality is 80% of people will probably tick that box and say through a friend, which is really, really positive in that sense, because word of mouth will always be your number 1 form of marketing. If you're delivering a really, really good job at your club, people will talk about you and spread it to their friends. So do think about adding that question in as a way of measuring, but try and measure everything that you're doing in the marketing space. And that probably that goes to my last tip, that marketing is in my views and in my eyes is absolutely everything. And the way I kind of like to explain this, and it's a little bit easier in person with people, but if you have been to one of my presentations before, I like to put on my black pants and put on a shirt, because I'm actually talking to people and I want them to take me seriously when most days I'm in shorts and a polo top like I am today. But that's because I'm standing out in front of people and I'm marketing myself, and I'm marketing that I know a little bit about marketing maybe. So I suppose what I mean by marketing is everything, and everything is marketing is the way that we portray our clubs, the way that we communicate with our participants, the way that we communicate with our sponsors, with our partners. We're constantly marketing ourselves to the world. When we get out of bed in the morning, the shirt that we decide to put on, the shoes that we decide to put on, we're building a brand perception of who we are and what we are. When we go out into the world, people are making decisions on us. So when you're representing your club or whatever you decide to do on your social media pages, on your websites, you are constantly marketing your facility. The way that your club is run on and off the field, and the way that your coaches approach, the way that they coach their sports, the way that your managers approach, the way that they manage the teams, that is all marketing in my eyes. And yeah, something to really think about every time you start a new season at your club, that everything ties into marketing. And I'm not just saying that as a guy that's a little bit passionate about marketing. Now, I thought I'd just share, I put the slide together pretty quickly actually just before, because I thought I'd share a couple of Tom's top frustrations. and probably actually came from a conversation a little bit I had with Pat yesterday, in the sense that, look, I just really wanted to highlight the importance of social media in the club space, but also your websites. And I think we're really, really fortunate in the sense that we've got to a new space and a new time, in the sense that there is really no excuse for your club or your organization to have a really good looking website at a really, really cheap rate. If you don't have a website, please get in touch with us. Look, we're not going to sell you our services to say, hey, we'll build you a website, but you can get a website up and running for as little as $150 a year. That does what it needs to do. So get a website. That's where people are looking for information. The first thing that anybody's going to do if they move into a new area or they're looking to play a sport is they're going to chuck it into our friends Google, and they're going to search what's in their area, and that's where your website's really, really important. And so these top tips are a little bit web-based, a little bit social media-based, and a little bit in general-based. But my top frustrations is poor quality photos. There's nothing worse than seeing distraught images posted on social media or used on websites where they're blurred, where they're out of focus, where they don't fit properly. It just doesn't look professional at all. And again, as I say, everything is marketing. So we want to make sure that our brand is looking professional. Even though it's a sports club and run by volunteers, people have choices out there, and they're going to go for the one that looks better. So when you're taking photos, always make sure you're sending them through to whoever's looking after them. Don't send them through Messenger, because that distorts the quality of them. Always email them. When you get prompted with the little screen that says, hey, what size do you want to email this through? Email it through as the largest size possible, so that the quality of the image is not destroyed for the person that's doing your marketing or your social media. Moves on to poor quality logos. The amount of sports clubs' websites I go on to and see a row of logos from supporting businesses that just look terrible because they've been ripped off someone's website. They've been distorted. As a marketer, I have slight little panics when I see things like that. Gee, these guys are out there giving you their hard-earned cash for your club. The least you guys can do is to put their logo on your website or on their walls, looking really, really good, because they're proud of their brand, they're proud of their business, and they're proud of what they're doing and giving back to the community. So please make sure that when you're sharing a sponsor's logo, you're doing a really good job about it. I'm going to jump one back up to poor quality photos. Another massive bugbear is when people share photos that are got watermarks through them. So what I mean by watermarks is when somebody's actually not wanting you to use their photo, they put a mark through the photo, which normally says watermarked, or please don't distribute, or this is not for use. Again, if you're putting that up on your social media or on your website, you're actually being illegal, but also it just doesn't look good. So don't use watermarked photos. Updated stories, I might be getting a little bit nitpicky here, but if you jump onto somebody's website and you're looking to play rugby in the local community, and yeah, it's great to have stories on your website. But if you jump onto a website and the last story was from 2017, and there hasn't been a new one updated since then, I'm straight away looking at that date and I'm thinking, gee, these guys are really energized in this club. They're really, really keen to tell everybody about all the amazing stuff they're doing. So if you do have a news feature on your website, please make sure it's updated. And that again goes back to social media. Again, maybe this is just my marketing lens, but if I was going to join a club, I'm checking their website. I'm also checking their Facebook and their other social media profiles. And even, if I go out to a restaurant or anywhere I go, I'm checking their social media. If they haven't updated in 3 months, I'm thinking, jeepers, I'm not going there. So yeah, make sure if you do have stories or you, again, keeping things simple and doing it properly, not stretching yourself too far. And if you've decided, hey, in a flurry of excitement that you needed to download Snapchat, but you haven't updated in 2 years, just delete it and remove it, so that you're not giving yourself a bad representation to people that are looking for stuff. Websites that are not mobile friendly, goes to my website spiel. Websites have come a long way in the last 5 years. You don't need $20,000 to build a website. Most website platforms that you can use these days shrink down to mobile automatically. So get on a platform that can do that. There's again, I'm sorry, but no excuse to have a website that doesn't do that. Massive bugbear, not giving yourself enough time to advertise your event, your season, or your program. This comes back down to planning, making sure you've got a plan and that you're following your plan, as simple as it might be, if it's a wall planner or whatever it might be. If you said you're going to do something, do it, and give yourself more time than you actually think you're going to need. Last two, Tom's top frustrations: terrible design. Everybody thinks they're a designer, but there's not very many that are actually that great at it. But again, like websites, and there's some pretty cool tools out there now that can make most people relatively decent at design. So Canva is a suggestion that I would definitely recommend. It's Canva. I think you can even build a website through Canva these days. But Canva, basically, if you put your logo in there, you can even pull all the colors out of it, and create some really nice templated stuff that you can always use across your social media or across your facility, across your website, and across a whole bunch of different areas. So I would recommend Canva if you don't have access to a design, because designers can be expensive, and I understand that that's another cost, but by using free platforms, you can get away from having Comic Sans printed A4 bits of paper that are just stuck everywhere. And that's going to move on to my last Tom's top frustration is tatty signs. I didn't really know how to say that, but gee, that's something that bugs the hell out of me, is when I walk around our facilities or anywhere, and could be in a really fancy restaurant and some guys typed quickly on a Microsoft Word and whatever font they could think, they've probably made it bigger than they can, and they've put a bit of blue stick on the back of it and just stuck it to a door, saying out of order. That just doesn't look good. And as a consumer, which all your participants are and all your potential members are, they're seeing things like that. They might not be seeing it as proactively as I am, but subconsciously they are. So really have a look at your signage. If you've got a sign it's made on Word and it's laminated and or it's not laminated and all the edges are teared up and it's been stuck on the same door for 5 years, or even worse, something I see at our facilities all the time, which is no exit through this door, and obviously someone still walked through that door, so someone stuck another sign. So the same door's got 18 signs on it saying no exit through this door, and they've all been made on different font, and they're all been made by different people, and people are still walking through that door, so not really doing what they need to do. Have a real look and have a think. What I say to my managers all the time, because they're like you guys, you volunteer at your clubs a lot, and you're at your clubs probably more than you are at your jobs and at your houses. You're there a lot, so you don't see things. Next time you go to your club, or next time you're thinking with a marketing lens, stop at the front door and stomp your feet, look down at the ground, take a deep breath, and try and view it as an external person. Try and view it as somebody that's never been there before, and have a look around at some of that signage, and have a look around at some of the things that you're portraying out to potential people that are coming to your club. And if it's a sign that's been on a wall for 4 years and you don't even know why it's there anymore, just pull it down and put it in the bin. That's all from me. I've talked constantly for about 35 minutes. Please, if you've got any questions, yell at me now. And yeah, I'm happy to chat through a few more of those things. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. You can save them all for Pat and for Annette. But again, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for you guys giving up your evening to sit on your computer screens and listen to some guy rabbit on for 35 minutes. But yeah, thank you again.
Hey Tom, it's Annette. I have a few questions, if that's okay.
Yep,
or are you going to do something else? Okay. Thank you for that presentation. It was helpful. Really appreciate it. Love your top tips, as well as your frustrations, your top frustration tips. If you had no budget, what are the basics for marketing?
Yeah, look, if you had no budget, look, if you could scrounge together $500, $250, I would say that the basics would be to get a website. I think even actually for Sporty, and Annette, you'd know more about this than me, you can get a website actually for free. So I would get a website. If you've got a little bit of money, buy your own domain name. So when I mean by domain name, you can type in www.yourclub.co.nz. I would set up some social media pages and get reach going through those ways. And I would make sure that I'm downloading platforms like Canva that I can use to design and tell our stories. But yeah, long story short, make sure you've got a website and make sure you've got your social media pages.
Oh, cool. The other question I had was what you've mentioned before. Have you got a template for an action plan checklist, a one-pager of how to market, right down from start of marketing right down to the media? Have you got a template for an action plan checklist?
Yeah, look, Shannon has put together a bit of a marketing plan template per se. I'm always, and I'm not copping out here, but I'm always a little bit skeptical in the sense of putting together a one stock fits all approach for marketing, because I know every club is different in that sense. In saying that, I think between myself, Pat, and Shannon, we can come up with something that ticks a few boxes. But I genuinely do mean this. I also put my hand up to more than happy to come to any club and spend an hour and put a very brief plan together. As long as the beer's cold, I'll be there.
Oh, that's wonderful, because why I say that is if you're starting from scratch, from nothing, it's where do you go? Because you know, and you have to start somewhere, and if you have no idea, and thank you for the offer of helping the clubs, appreciate that. The other question I had was, again, you mentioned Canva. Can you put out on somewhere just the free program that designs tiles and flyers? Because for me, when I'm marketing and promoting an event, man, I struggle with this. And yeah, I get all the frustrations about, I'm one of those that takes poor quality photos, and my marketing team says that, and that's not good enough. So to get that professional photo is really quite hard. So so again, with the free design program, it would be helpful if there was something easy to use for our clubs, and if we can have those links, that'd be good. That's not complicated. The other thing was, have you got a basic template or something that has the content of what that tile, what is the detail of that content for that? What is the must-haves? Do we fill our flyers and promotional stuff up with too much detail? Like, what should we have? Should we have just the bare minimum detail and follow up somewhere else? Or should you pile everything on that one flyer?
Yeah. Shannon, hopefully you're listening and you can just throw Canva up on the chat box so people can just click on that and they'll have that link saved. Yeah, look, I do think there's a massive habit, and I'm happy to be challenged on this. And I suppose this is one of my beliefs in marketing, is people have different approaches and we all do things a little bit different. So I'm happy to be challenged on anything. And look, as I say, things like TikTok, I don't even understand. So I'm trying to, because it's kind of my job too, but I need to hire a 15-year-old. I do think there is a habit of creating too much information on posters. I think we want to get punchy info out there and to really capture people's attention. I think things like a website, for example, I always stress this to my facilities, and I've just been having some great conversations with a few people tonight about it. Is our website should be kind of in my view, should be our source of truth. So whatever you're putting out into the community, it should reflect on your website. So I suppose what I'm saying there is if you're doing a really, really hard push for registrations for your clubs at the moment, when somebody's going onto your website, the first thing that you should be showing them is the same message that you're sending out externally. So if you've got if you've decided to print off a whole bunch of corflute signage that you can stick out on roadsides that people are driving past and seeing, if that's saying, hey, register now at Maramarua, I'm going to use Maramarua, the best club in counties. Register now at Maramarua Rugby Club to play rugby for the season. If you go onto their website, that should be reflected on their website, and the same information should be on there. So people that have seen that poster or that corflute can then go onto the website and see the same information and register, because that's at the end of the day, the registration is all kind of happening through that website platform. I just wanted to share. And I'm a big believer in corflute signs. Corflute signs are those real estate kind of signs that you can buy from a number of different providers. One of the one of the sorry, Fran, she's leaving. One of the suppliers that I use in Auckland is a company called Banner Express. Shannon, if you can just Google that and put it on the chat as well. That is the cheapest supplier of any marketing material, like cornflake signs, like flags, ACM, which is a slightly harder board. That is the cheapest supplier I can find in Auckland. They're just based in Penrose. Good quality stuff, very, very cheap. You can buy an A1 cornflake sign, I think, for about $10–15, so not a lot of money.
Last question, sorry. Do you have a template of a marketing strategy? So what's your ideal marketing strategy, and have you got a template?
Again, without copping out of answering the question, I think that's a little bit, yeah. Not specifically, because I do like writing them individually for individual clubs in that sense. But there is some templates out there, and it's something that we could probably pull together. I think that would tie into the calendar basically. So you would put all your different marketing strategies and what you should be doing in that calendar. But that's potentially something like a one-pager of, as you said before, if you're going to be doing 10 things this season, we recommend these are the 10 things that you should do and how to access them.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tom. Very, very helpful.
Cool. Any other questions?
There's none in the chat. If anybody else does have a question or something pops up, just feel free to put that in there and we can address Tom at the end. But yeah, thanks for Tom for that. That was really interesting. And I really appreciate that number 8 wasn't my name for your top 10 frustrations. So everything that Tom's listed there, I basically do the opposite of, including leaving things to the last minute. So hence why we have brought Pat Spellman into the CLM community sport team to hopefully assist us with that. So I am useless at technology, and I don't have Insta, I don't have TikTok and that sort of thing. So I'm really trying to learn this space. So Pat is more of an expert at that, and he has been brought in to save us, haven't you, Pat? So he will explain sort of a little bit about his role, but as Tom said, we are here to help with this. So if you're like me and this is way over your head, or you're new to this marketing, social media, or just don't feel that you have the professional content that you want to put out for your club, then do reach out to us. We're happy to set up a face-to-face or online meeting to show you little tips. So yeah, reach out and hopefully we can just make that a little bit simpler. So over to you, Pat.
Kia ora, kia ana, tau whalawa, malo balawi naka, whakalofalahi atu, warm Pacific greetings everybody from my humble abode in Pakuranga, where I have been for 7 days, 3 more to go, and then I can go back to the real world. As has been mentioned, I don't know if saving the day is part of the job description, but I'm certainly very excited to be a recent addition to the extended CLM community sport team. My role is very much so focused on supporting the marketing efforts, led by Tom and his team, and my role will be just, I guess, totally tailored to the community sport side of things. Just some context in terms of my background and what I do and how that, I guess, relates to this mahi, is you may have sort of taken by Tom's apology. I come from a radio background. So if you guys all pull your radio spend, all of my colleagues that still work at NZME will be unemployed. So maybe think twice about doing that, but it doesn't worry me now, I don't work there. But 10 years in radio, ironically did a little bit of print media as well. So I'm certainly not making any money from Tom in the future. And now my role is I sort of float between a few different assignments, and I'm a bit of a creative person. So how that applies to CLM is I've been brought on by the team just to help tell some stories in our community, in line with the overall kind of strategy set by CLM, and how that sort of applies to you guys and your club communities, and some of the other extended assignments that our community team do. I'm looking forward to leveraging the social media assets that was discussed today. I wholeheartedly agree with almost everything other than the radio and the print media sort of points that Tom made, and had a bit of a chuckle at some of the pain and pressure points as well. Probably for me, if I could maybe just give you one pointer, it's that people are currency in terms of marketing, particularly in community sports. So my experience working with not-for-profits and community organizations, it's that when you lack budget, you're rich in people. So leverage the relationships and the organic reach that your communities will provide you with. Think about your greatest assets, and I promise you, they're not the club rooms, they're not the capital in the bank, it's not the apparel agreements or the sponsorships. It's actually the people. That's what attract organizations to your organization. That's what will attract people to your club to register, to play your code, to do the activities that you guys promote. If you don't have good people and leverage those people, then the equity in your brand will diminish very, very quickly. So my recommendation would be everything Tom said, just be mindful of the contents. So it's all good to have an amazing strategy, to have a 10-point plan, to have a cool website, to have awesome social media. Canva is great, saved my life. Although I sort of specialize in the Adobe Creative Suite, Canva is very, very useful. I can whip my phone out and get a tile online in 3 minutes. I did one whilst watching Tom's presentation. So that's how quickly Canva can help if you've got really good quality photos like Tom mentioned. But as I said, the contents of your content should always directly link to what makes your club and your community sport special, and that's always going to be the people. So when putting your plans together, reflect on not only what you do, but who does it for you. Think about the ambassadors in your teams, your club captains, the life members you have. Think about those high-profile community personalities that wouldn't mind taking a photo wearing your strip, and it might only cost you a polo shirt, and you get your iPhone out and take a photo, and you've got that piece of content, and you can whack that out whenever you want. Every time Papa Toitua needs some money, I see a Kevin Mialamu photo. So, start leveraging these things and get amongst the idea or the ideation that people are currency and you're all rich in it. So if the budget isn't big, and let's face it, community sport, it never is, the people are your currency, and you've invested greatly in them over the years. So start leveraging some of the results and heed the opportunities you've got there. Make it easy was probably the other tip that I would add to what Tom mentioned. And he talked about keeping it simple. Just an extension of that, making it easy. Make it very easy to do everything. Make it easy to find you. Make it easy to register. Make it easy to pay. Make it easy to consume that data. Make it easy to share that information. Make it easy to read. Less is more, always. If your poster has all the information, your status update does not need to. So one of the mistakes a lot of people make is that they'll load their creative up with details to infinity and beyond, and then they'll duplicate all of that in the status update itself. You've just made your poster redundant by putting all of that info in your status update. So one or the other. If you're going to list all of your info on your website, then the banner need only be a high quality photo of someone that everyone recognizes. And the same with social. A post is not always necessary if you've got a really high res photo, because your caption is going to play that role for you. And always be mindful of your audience, which is again a point that Tom made that I just want to reiterate, is that don't pay attention to what other clubs or codes are doing. It's one of the biggest sort of lessons I've taught the touch community in Auckland, is that who cares what sevens are doing? Don't worry about what tag are up to. Who cares what basketball, touch, nines and league and all of the other codes are doing? Focus on your community, and that's certainly a point I would love for everybody here to indulge in, is focus on you and not what everybody else is doing. Because if you constantly compare your word count or your status like count, how many followers you've got, you'll miss the mission every time. So yeah, as Jamie mentioned, I'm hanging around CLM until they sack me, and I'm certainly here to help if I can collaborate with Tom. And I don't drink beer, but I'm certainly keen on a gin and juice. So if your club's got something in the fridge, then I'm there. But always happy to help. And if anyone's got any questions from my little ramble, I'm more than happy to answer them as well. So no reira, ngam hi kia koutou e hoa ma. Che.
Good, Pat. Is there any questions from anybody before we move on?
Thanks, Pat. That was a very powerful message. I really appreciated that. Really cool.
Great. Well, yeah, thanks, Pat. No, I agree with both of you there. And some of the biggest news items, if you could call that, or things on social media that I've seen that have gone sort of viral from clubs, are often just something around just a simple video footage of the kids playing the sport, or something cool that's happened. Because what happens is the aunties and the uncles want to see it, they share it, then the grandparents share it, then the friends share it, or they see their child in the background and that sort of thing. So yeah, it is really important to also have that community and that cultural people feel to all your marketing.
How do you get on with privacy? Posting photos, is that a bad word?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. You do need to ask permission where you can, I guess. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't stop people from putting stuff up. If it is on your website or Facebook, feel free to jump in here, Pat and Tom. But if it's on your club's website or whatever, just be careful. Make sure that there is permission, and I guess maybe having a central person that can go to. But as Pat said, get the club working for you. So, get the coaches or the managers or the parents sending you these photos. It might not be that you have to do everything. All right. Okay. Well, if there's any questions, feel free to yell out. Now, for those that would like to learn more about Sporty and the registration side of it, Annette is going to talk a little bit more about how you can make your websites and online work for you in terms of recruiting or retaining members. So over to you, Annette.
Thank you, Jamie. Really appreciate it. How much time have I got? Is it just a minute?
We have gone over, but it'll keep going. So yeah, we apologise.
Are you sure? Okay.
But
that's
so
okay.
Feel free to stay on.
Okay, cool. This is very, very brief, because I offer all our clubs and schools, juniors, seniors, secondary schools, training in all sorts of ways what's suitable for them, whether it be on the phone or whether it be I come to them or they come to me. So really important time of the year with when we register, and I go through the basics on from start to finish on what to do. And it's really important to send out those re-registration emails, and then it's really important to make sure you've got the right links linking up to your website. And I offer a full website training as well, and it's quite easy to do that, and link up all the URLs to making sure that they're all working properly. So it's just basically around how to upload your My Vaccine Pass MVP, how to we've all got to have photos now uploaded, how to do that, how to fix all their problems with registrations, and My Rugby app with the scores. So it's not a 5-minute chat, Jamie. It's and team. It's I'll get them started, and then they ring me if they've got any issues. But key to this marketing is why we've put this first marketing and media, because we need to get that information out to our members, our community, and straight away, immediately. And the first I ask the clubs is, have you got your registration weigh in and pay registration dates and times sorted? Have you got your muster sorted? They have to be done by mid-March. All the musters that have to be done. So have you got all that sorted? Because that's the key messaging. Key messaging is really important, those dates, so they can come in and weigh and pay and their fees. And I don't really have a lot to say what else to say, because it's a matter of them coming in. I've had if it's a new committee like Franz, Bichens Maratai president, we had a 2-hour session. so it just depends on, and I've had trainings already. So I listen to our clubs and schools and just see what they want and just deliver.
Right. Thanks, Annette. So yeah, so any of the rugby clubs on here, feel free to contact Annette, because I think that's, as you say, Annette, it really needs to probably be a bit more of a one-on-one session, but it's great to hear that you're prepared to offer your services. And yeah, I think that's probably the best thing to do is just get in touch with you after this. And likewise with any of our team, as I said, we are here to help. So if you have any questions regarding anything we've talked to tonight, then definitely reach out. Now, I do appreciate we sort of have gone over a little bit, and I did want to try keep to the hour, but I think it's good conversations that we've had. So appreciate that everybody has stuck around. And I just would like, once we sort of close this, we're just going to put a link up in the chat function to a quick little survey. I promise you it will only take probably a minute to complete. So if you could just click on that link when Shannon puts it in the chat, if you could just quickly fill out that survey, and it'll just give us a few details around how we may be able to assist your club in the future. And as I say, I promise it'll only take a minute. But before we sort of close off, is there anybody else that has some questions, either for Tom, Pat, or Annette? You can either just jump on or put it in the chat function.
Yeah, I've got it's Front here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Just one question. So obviously all the clubs sort of saw their own sponsorships out during the year. Just maybe for county side, Annette, I don't know if you can answer that, but is there any sort of working together where if we've got big sponsors where we can strike a deal with counties and or Navigation Stadium and put up a signboard there for our sponsors, just to give them the better side of the deal?
So that's with our commercial marketing team. And if you want to do that, it's just like those Barliners fronts in the lounge. So the club sponsor that, and you can put whatever sponsor's name on them. And but so put your plan together and email me. And but to nail those key sponsors, and you're talking about promotion, you're talking about acknowledgement and promoting them.
Yeah. Anything on the outside of the field?
Yeah, well, if the commercial team will give them a deal, so you just have to tell us who your sponsors are, and then contact our commercial manager.
Cool. All right, we'll be in touch.
But I'm not sure how else you want to have exposure for sponsors in this forum. But yeah, that's a quick answer there. Sorry, Franz, that's all I had to say.
No, that was fine. Thank you.
And on that too, so we have 3 more workshops that are coming over, and one is around sort of funding and finances as well. So that will probably touch a little bit on sponsorship. So feel free to send somebody from the club to those sessions. Is there any other questions, or anybody else got any comments or even tips? Maybe something's working well for your club that you want to share. No? All right, well, we might wrap it up there. So thank you, Tom, Pat, and Annette for tonight. And as I said, I've said many a times, we are here to help. So feel free to reach out to us. There's